This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris, and today I'm making a batch of strawberry muffins. These muffins are so great. They have a little bit of orange zest to them, which is a great flavor with the strawberries, and I serve them with some strawberry butter. They're wonderful for breakfast. Now to get started, I've got a 12-cup muffin pan, and I'm going to be putting a paper liner in each one of the wells. In a previous episode on my cupcake show, I had mentioned that I had been using this nonstick pan for quite a few months, but all of a sudden I noticed that it wasn't releasing really well if the muffin or cupcake baked over and started fusing itself to the pan. So here's what I'm doing to combat that problem. I'm taking a little bit of my baking spray and I'm just spritzing the very top of the pan just like this. And then that way, if anything does bake over, it won't stick to that pan. It'll be released really nicely. Now I'm going to set my pan aside and get my strawberries ready. I've got some beautiful strawberries and I've gone ahead and stemmed them, but I need to chop them up. So I'm going to take each berry and cut it in half, and then cut each half in thirds, and then chop it up. And then I'm just going to run my blade through it a couple more times and then measure out 1 cup of chopped berries. Now in a small bowl, I'm going to put my 1 cup of chopped berries, and to that add a tablespoon of sugar. And then I'm going to toss those together. Now the sugar is going to sweeten those berries nicely, but it's also going to help the berries release some of their juices. And that's important because if we were to just put chopped strawberries in our muffins, as they bake, they would start to release that juice and it would get too wet, and we don't want that. So we're going to help the strawberries by getting some of those juices out of them, but sweeten them at the same time. Now in my mixing bowl, I'm going to get 2 cups of flour measured out. And to the flour, I'm going to add 3/4 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now with my spatula, I'm going to mix that together, making sure that that sugar gets really well blended with that flour. Now I'm going to mix all of my wet ingredients in this 2-cup measuring cup. So I'm going to start by measuring out 1/2 cup of milk, and you can use any kind of milk that you have on hand. And to that, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of canola oil, 3 eggs, and then I'm going to take 1 orange, and with my microplaner, I'm going to take the zest off of it and add that into my wet ingredients. And then with my fork, I'm going to mix that together. I want to make sure that those eggs get totally broken up and that the oil and the milk get mixed together. Now the reason that I put my zest in with my liquid ingredients is if I were to put them in with the dry, they tend to clump up and they don't get dispersed through the flour. This way that orange zest is all the way through the liquid. So now I'm going to pour that into my flour, and I'm going to use my spatula and start to toss those ingredients together. Now I'm not going to mix it all the way through. I just want to get it started mixing because now I need to drain the juice off of my strawberries. Then I'm just going to use the 2-cup measuring cup that I've already been using and get a little strainer on top. And I'm going to take those berries and put them through the strainer, and you can see I'm getting at least a few tablespoons of juice out, which is really great because that would make this batter too wet. And I'm actually going to just stir that around until I don't see any more juice coming out. And then I'll put these berries into my mixture here. Now I'm going to just gently fold those in And because of that, not having mixed the batter all the way through, I'm not going to over mix. But when you are mixing, you want to make sure that you really look to see that there's no dry ingredients still unmixed. There's sometimes these little pockets of flour that kind of hide, and we don't want that. Now that looks good, so we're ready to put our batter into our muffin wells. Now I'm going to be using my medium-sized cookie scoop because I want to get 12 muffins out of this batter. And this way I put a little bit of batter in each well to start with. So you can see I have a little bit in each well, and then I can go back and then divide the rest of this up so that each muffin is about the same size. Now these end up being about 3/4 of the way full, and if you see any little drips of batter, now's the time to get those off your pan. Now I've preheated the oven to 400 degrees, and I'm going to put these in for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to test them with a toothpick to make sure that they're baked through. Now these have just come out of the oven, so I want to take my toothpick, pop it right in the center. That comes out totally clear, so I'm going to let these sit in the pan for about 5 minutes. Now I want to get my muffins off onto a cooling rack, so I'm just use a fork here, and these pop out really nicely. And these are great warm or at room temperature. Now another thing you can do with muffins, and I do this all the time, is once these completely cool, I wrap them individually in plastic wrap, and then I put them in a freezer bag and put them in the freezer. That way my family can have a fresh strawberry muffin whenever they want. They can just pull one out of the freezer, unwrap it, microwave it for between 15 to 30 seconds, and it's great for breakfast. Now I wanted to share with you a tip that a viewer wrote in to me, and this was actually her daughter's idea. What she did is she took some butter and then she took some jam, and because these are strawberry muffins, I thought I'd take a nice dollop of strawberry jam and mix it in with the butter. So you make like strawberry butter. Then you can just take a little bit of that strawberry butter, put that on your muffin, and it is delicious. Well, if you'd like to give these strawberry muffins a try at home, just go to our website and go to the Nothin But Muffin show notes, and I'll have the recipe there for you. And as always, if you have any questions or any ideas for me, please send me an email. I'll see you next time.